Thank you. Yes. Another very interesting aspect of the book is when you talk about effective ways to develop reflective peer review feedback. This is something that a lot of the teachers here at CELC work on, trying to develop students' abilities to give peer review. Have you got any advice for developing that?
Sure. Now, I appreciate and glad to hear our colleagues there at your Center, Language and Communication, is doing quite a great work on that. Perhaps in my opinion and my reflections, as well as what I've done, perhaps some couple of pointers for our colleagues to reflect about. Perhaps they may have done it, or perhaps how they can push even further. Now, one of the things that I realized in peer review is that the process of peer review has to be very rigorous. Right. So what I tend to do is that, for example, let me give you an example, peer review within a group. So I give them an activity, right? It could be 45 minutes, for example, 30 minutes, for example. And because I'm doing leadership management, change management, organization development topics, and I think it's very related to communication, perhaps in some way, where when they actually does that, after that, I'm actually trying to make sure that the competency and skill of that leader, of the group members, whatever roles that they are taking on, is reflected to them. For example, let me give you a very specific example. Today's topic is about goal setting. Okay, so this activity goes for 45 minutes, and we want one person in that group to be reviewed by the 4 of them. Okay, how does he set goal setting as from a leader's point of view? Now, at the end of the peer review, at the end of the activity, all the group members would tend to review this particular person on a certain specific criteria. Now, what am I doing? At the end of the day, he go back with some formative feedback, collective feedback. One of them is saying, okay, you score 6, and why you score 6? Another person will say, you score 4, and this is my perspective. I don't agree with that guy, but this is my perspective. Now, why is this important? This is very important because in the real world, there's no template, right? People come with different opinions. People come with different baggages. People come and look at you in different opinions. But that is exactly what is needed as a leader. You must be able to address different perspectives. You may not agree with them. You can agree to disagree, but you still have to address that. Now, so that aspect of peer review and the rigorous process of making sure that this person gets the feedback, he reflects on the feedback, and there must be a closure. A lot of time we do peer review, and it stops there, right? The person is wondering, okay, I'm thinking about my feedback, which you've given me. How am I going to improve? So what I do is to close the loop, right? So this is activity number 1. And when they come to the next lesson, the person who is given the feedback has to reflect. And then he has to come to the class and talk about whether he agrees, he disagrees, what he intends to do. And by that, the peers listen, the whole class listens, and there is this aspect of closure. I think, in my humble opinion, the closure is something that I find it as a gap in most, if not all, right? Where we may want to work on the closure so that we know that this particular person got what he or she, the student, got him. Now, of course, this needs some time, but I think we can do it creatively today in different ways. We may not want to do it every week, but we can do it in such a way that there is this loop of closure. That's what I'm saying.